Good morning and welcome once again to Life Without Shakers, and it's time for another journey around the western fells of Lakeland. Today I'm starting in Loweswater, and my first objective for the day will be Blake Fell. From there I'm going to take a slight detour to pick up Burnbank Fell before retracing my steps over Gavel Fell, Hen Comb and finally Mellbreak, which is the one you can see poking out between the hedge here, for finishing with a pint in one of my favourite pubs in the Lake District, the Kirkstall Inn. And I think it's going to be about 13 miles or so today, all in, and it promises to be another hot day. Don't think this fleece is going to be on for long. So let's get going. So let's get our first glimpse of Loweswater itself. What have we got? I suspect this is Blake Fell, closest to me, and Burnbank Fell just to the right of it there. And Gavel Fell is the one hidden behind this lower mass here. I suspect Hen Comb is one of these two here. Not quite sure. I've never actually been up any of the mountains in this region, for all that I've walked around Loweswater itself on many occasions. Still, it's a wonderful day to explore for the first time. Okay, almost 2 miles in, we have our first climb of note of the day. Right, so just over 2.5 miles in, I'm on the ridge, and this is the climb up to the summit of Blake Fell. Fell of the day, Wainwright number 6 in the Western Fells. This is Blake Fell, 1,878 feet. Try if I can take advantage of this little bit of shelter as it is. Slightly windy. Wainwright says Blake Fell, known locally simply as Blake, is the highest of the Loweswater uplands, overtopping the others considerably and asserting its superiority by a distinctive final upthrust that makes it prominent in views of the group. A long high shoulder, curling north, extends towards Loweswater, hiding the main summit from the valley. On the opposite western flank, facing industrial fell south of the lake of that name fan out like fingers of a hand, each with a knuckle crag on a ridge rising distinctly from the valley, and the whole forming a compact independent group. So, let's go to the second finger, Burnbank fell next. Anyway, looks like relatively easy walking from here to Burnbank fell. My kind of summit this, nice easy grassy slopes, no stupid scrambling or boggy bits. Well, might be boggy bits. This is the summit of Burnbank Fell, 1,580 feet approximately. This is Wainwright number 7 in book 7. Summit marked by this rather measly cairn. Wainwright says, west of Loweswater, the high ground of Lakeland gives place to the undulating rural countryside of the quiet Marron Valley. And the last height of all is the grassy dome of Burnbank Fell, a cornerstone, a beginning and an end. This is a dull hill, with little to suggest the grandeur of the mountain masses piled up inland from it, and nothing to divert the attention of a passing traveller. Well, it might be a dull summit, but it's got a fantastic view across the Cumberland Plain, back towards the Solway. Right, that is the northern extreme of today's walk. Now to retrace my steps back across Blake Fell towards Gavel Fell. Looks quite steep from this side, Blake Fell. Didn't seem that steep coming down it. Must admit, I hadn't realised that Blake Fell was the highest of today's summits. If I had done, I might have thought about plotting a slightly different route. That meant I didn't have to walk up it twice. Never mind, over it now. Now it's the gentle descent and then hopefully a gentle ascent onto Gavel Fell. And after a rather featureless climb, I reached the summit of Gavel Fell, 1,720 feet. This is Wainwright number 8 in the Western Fells. Wainwright says Gavel Fell is the central and second highest of the 5 Loweswater fells south of the lake, having Blake Fell on the west and Hen Comb on the east. It rises as a well-defined ridge between Hynock Beck and Whiteoak Beck, but becomes sprawling towards the summit, which is wide and grassy tableland of no particular interest and lacking a distinctive outline. That is true. In fact, all of Blake Fell, Burnbank Fell and Gavel Fell have basically been pretty much the same. Just wide, open, smooth, gentle, grassy slopes. No particular views of note either on the climbs. Just the odd glimpse of the Cumberland Plateau from the summits. Right, hopefully there'll be more interest in the afternoon as I venture over Hen Comb and Mellbreak. Good news is all these really high summits in front of me are not my targets for today. Hen Comb is in fact that little one over there to my left. Mellbreak is hidden from view at the moment. Finally got something of note on this walk. To my left is called Hen Comb, and I almost ended up walking up it by accident because I was aimlessly carrying on in a straight line, but luckily I remembered to check my route and noticed that the path deviated around it. So this right in front is Hen Comb. You can see from here, kind of, how he got his name. Just look a little bit like a hen's comb. If you squint. Sprung up out of nowhere. This is the summit of Hen Comb. I'm at number 9 of the Western Fells, 1,661 feet. Following the general pattern of the Loweswater Fells, Hen Comb rises as a long ridge from the valley to a round summit well set back. It is a grassy fell almost entirely, with a rocky knuckled little dod midway on the ridge, and there is very little of interest on the flanks apart from slight traces of former mining activity. It is the sort of fell sometimes climbed but rarely twice. It is unfortunate in having Mellbreak as a neighbour. You see why? Mellbreak does look quite splendid from here. You do have slight glimpses of views from here. There's a slight glimpse of Loweswater, a slight glimpse of Buttermere, and a very, very slight glimpse of Current Water. But otherwise it's just other fells all around. Okay, making great progress today. Only got one more fell to go, which is Mellbreak. It's the one I've been looking forward to climbing for quite a while. That last mile or so was horrid. Basically just a swamp rather than a path, with the odd outcrop of ankle breaking rock to trip over. I think I'm finally at the point though where it's time to start going upwards towards Mellbreak. Right, after all those broad grassy slopes of earlier, Mellbreak is distinctly different. This one looks like a proper mountain. Yeah, she's definitely like a mountain. This is incredibly steep, but what a view of Buttermere and Water, Ranadale Knots in the foreground here. Beautiful. Well, this I believe is the south summit of Mellbreak, which is 1,676 feet and waymark number 10 in book 7. There is also a north top, which is, according to the OS map, about 10 feet lower, but from here it looks substantially higher. Wainwright says Mellbreak has two distinct summits, 2/3 of a mile apart and separated by a pronounced depression. The more attractive of the two is the heathery north top, measured by the Ordnance Survey as 1668 feet above sea level. The duller grassy south top is credited with 1676 feet. Nobody would have complained if the measurements had been reversed by some rare error, for it is the lower north top crowning a splendid tower of rock that captures the fancy, not the other. I mean, yeah, from here the north top also looks a lot higher, so let's go there. The north summit of Mellbreak. Wainwright says in West Cumberland, well, Mellbreak is a household word, largely through association with the Mellbreak foxhounds. The fell is highly esteemed, and there has always been people ready to assert that it is the finest of all. This is carrying local patriotism too far, but nevertheless it is a grand hill and a beautiful situation, with a character all its own and a resting outline not repeated in the district. There is only one Mellbreak. Well, actually there are two, as we've already established. There's a South Mellbreak and a North Mellbreak. You can clearly see from here that the southern fell of the southern summit is slightly higher. There's a wonderful view over Loweswater from here, although Buttermere and Water are now shielded by the bulk of the south summit. Okay then, that is all the fells for today. It's time to treat myself to a well-earned pint at the Kirkstall Inn. We're looking forward to that. One thing to note about Mellbreak actually while I'm here is that, as I mentioned in passing earlier, it is one that I've been looking forward to climbing for many years. Ever since the first time I ever sat in the beer garden at the Kirkstall Inn, looking up at it and thinking, that's a funny shaped hill. Can't really see it from the direction I've come up, but we'll see it on the way down. And Wainwright makes mention of it. It's, you know, the Loweswater facing side is a distinct pyramid shape. It really is quite striking. Here is that pyramid north face of Mellbreak from close up. This is an incredibly steep descent. Still a long way above the valley floor as well. Oh my god, I made it down. That was stupid. For all that Mellbreak was a wonderful summit with wonderful views, that descent route was lethal. As you can see, it just turned into a scree slope at the end there. Sheer, absolutely sliding into anything. Ended up sliding down on me behind for a long way. Thankfully, almost back in the valley now. And here, just in front, at last, is the beer garden of the Kirkstone Inn. Journey's end. And it's been a journey of two halves really today. First half was very, very easy walking. But with that came rather bland fell tops for the most part. Second bit got a little bit more interesting. On Hen Comb, in the sense of it was rather steep, and the crossing between Hen Comb and Mellbreak, in the sense that it was mostly a bog. But Mellbreak itself certainly lived up to the billing. A wonderful summit with wonderful views. Just to show you about the descent route, you can see what's just behind that tree at the moment, but it looks impassable, and well, it should be impassable, but for some reason someone put a path up it. Never mind, I'm down just about in one piece. So, that's another 5 Wainwrights chalked off in the Western Fells. As ever, thank you for watching. Hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope you join me again next time. Until then, bye.